Good evening! Today I'm going to talk about the American election and Donald Trump. 8 years ago I became a Trump supporter after studying him. I am the kind of person who doesn't believe much in media spin. I like to kind of check my own facts. And I started to study him and I figured out that he was way better than the media depicted him. He's way better than people think. He's actually a successful businessman. I read his Art of the Deal also, or listened to it on Audiobook, and it made me understand more why he uses so much hyperbole and says so many crazy things. As Joe Rogan said, you have said a lot of crazy shit, and that is totally true. And he can sound... Yeah, I would agree he can sound stupid sometimes and rant a lot, but so can I. So I kind of understand him because he has a brain who is working very fast and he has a lot of digressions like me. He can talk about one thing and then just goes into something else. But he's not a fascist. He's not a Hitler. He's not a racist. He is not a woman hater. He has nothing against gay people. He, all this spin. He's Hitler, a fascist, is going to end democracy? Are you insane? First of all, you have to change the constitution in America to change how that works. And anyway, America is a two-party dictatorship anyway, and they are kind of moving between the Democrats and the Republicans. So, I mean, they are basically living in a two-party dictatorship already. So why am I still a Trump supporter? I've been reading here. Well, doubts and fears. My biggest doubt or fear is what he will do with Ukraine. Because listening to Tulsi Gabbard, which I really like actually, because she's smart, she's really intelligent. And also Tucker Carlson, which is one of his kind of surrogates. They are anti-war, anti-using the American military to be world police. And that is something I totally disagree with. And to stop people like Putin, who invaded Ukraine for no reason, who is dropping glide bombs over cities, who is bombarding them with these Shahid drones bought from Iran, which basically are just to terrorize the civilian population. I think that is, of course, also crimes against humanity, and according to international law would actually lead to him be arrested for breaking the law of war. We can't let him win. When Trump say that he's going to stop this war in one day, I do hope, and if I look back to what he did with China, Iran and North Korea, despite saying a stupid thing like me and Kim Il-jung fell in love, he did what was needed to weaken China by pulling back jobs, by putting on tariffs, by strangling the economy of Iran. He called Kim Il-jung little rocket man is on a suicide mission in a speech. He told the Arab countries to their face to stop the fanatics within their ranks, and they actually started doing that, which ended up in the Abraham Accords, which sadly Biden didn't continue. So when you see what he actually did, when he said this horrible thing, he and Kim Il-jung fell in love. You don't fall in love with Adolf Hitler, okay? You just don't. And there's no difference between Adolf Hitler and Kim Il-jung. He's probably even worse because He doesn't even have an ideology, okay? So he just do mean things for no reason at all, because he likes his whiskey and his movies and his girls. So, and the same thing with Putin also. There's actually no ideology there. There is no reason for him to invade Ukraine other than his hubris, other than his madness and power hungry. He also is very corrupt, and he can't leave office because he's going to be charged with corruption and probably go to jail or even get executed in Russia, which I will hope is the end of Putin, that is taken down into the Kremlin, and they put a piece of cloth in his mouth and basically give him one in the head, like they did with Paria back in the day. That is the way I hope he goes out. At worst, he goes to China and takes some money with him and lives out his life there, or North Korea or whatever. But North Korea also have to be, the regime, Kim regime in North Korea also has to be ended. So this thing that Tulsi Gabbard and Trump and stuff are talking about, to make peace with dictators and have a good relationship with dictators, is, in my view, totally wrong. We should not accept dictatorship. We should not accept fascism. We should not accept slavery, which dictatorship is. Just look at now today, it was like 700,000 soldiers lost in Ukraine. Most of these soldiers, Russian soldiers, didn't even want to be there. They are sent into war in meat waves, a war they can't win. Unless, of course, Trump pulls out and stops NATO from supporting them. But I don't think that will happen. I don't think he's that stupid. And if it happens that America pulls out for a while because of Trump, I do hope it is time for the European Union and the European country to finally step up and take responsibility for their own security. So maybe it's a good thing. It's like when Trump said to the European countries, if you don't pay, we don't protect you. And they paid. And it was a very effective thing, because they actually believed that Trump will actually stop the support to Europe. And America can't stand alone and pay for all this shit. So we have to kind of use NATO and use American resources and NATO resources to stop dictators, warmongers all over the world. We need a world police. NATO and the West is the only guarantee for world peace or world human rights and the fight against dictatorship. So I totally disagree with Tulsi Gabbard, Tucker Carlson and Trump and people who talk that talk, So there I actually agree with Kamala Harris. Despite I don't really think she is smart enough to have an opinion about these things, really, herself. But I know that if she should win against all the odds now, because Trump is leading in all the polls, I know that she has people around her who will make the right decisions, okay? So, and the reason why I say that Trump will win is because Hillary at this point was 6% over Trump. Biden at this point was 9% over Trump. And Hillary lost and Biden won by approximately somewhere between 40,000 and 20,000 votes in a few swing states. And it's not legal to say this, but when they was going to look into if there were fraud, the court said they didn't have standing, so they didn't take up these things. And was there fraud? Yes. But was there enough fraud to change the election? We will probably never know. Anyway, Biden became president and he flooded America with the illegal aliens. He basically destroyed the economy. And now, as I predicted 4 years ago, Trump will be back. Because I know Trump. I know how he thinks. There are two driving forces for him. It is he can't stand losing. So ego is a great driving force. But remember, ego is also a great driving force for artists, for scientists, for warriors, for all the people who are or people in sports. It's ego that drives them. It is getting it right or winning, which is much of the driving force. And in Trump's case, you also have this thing. He actually loves America. And he loves people. And when he say that he actually think it's very sad to see how many people who die on both sides in Ukraine, I actually believe he means it. But then, again, I could also doubt it, because when he says the stupid thing that he and Kim Il-jung fell in love, he doesn't think about the North Korean population, which is basically starving to death. And yeah, so there are contradictions. So, but that is the whole thing. If you read Art of the Deal, he explains how he's using hyperbole to actually spread confusion. And it is like Zhenshu, the art of war. If the enemy is huge, you could make yourself small. Two strategies. You can make you look much bigger than you are, or you can make yourself small and you strike when they least expect it. So in a way, Art of the Deal is a book, basically a version of Zhenshu, the art of war. And that is the tactics that Trump is using. He is using hyperbole and even lies. And they say Trump lies. Well, Kamala lies. Hillary lied. Hillary financed the dossier, the Russian disinformation that made the first term of Trump's presidency a hellhole. Okay? They impeached him, and they knew it was disinformation. They just used this to find something, but it didn't find anything. It's like when they found out that Bill Clinton had sex with Monica Lewinsky. He wasn't actually. They didn't research if he had sex with somebody. It came up as a result of the impeachment process against him. So we just find that by accident. So that was probably why they did all this thing with the dossier and all the misinformation and the Russia hoax and stuff, which is a hoax. Hillary Clinton should have gone to jail for that. And she also lied to Congress and stuff like that. And now they tried again. They tried to put Trump in jail for basically nothing, because they knew they couldn't stop him in this election. And what is happening now is that people see through it, They are sick of lies, they are sick of identity politics, they are sick of illegal immigration. Like Europe, we are also sick of immigration, because it doesn't work. You don't solve world problems by moving people. You have to take resources and move to the poor places in the world and build there, so we can help the many, not the few. And I think we should use NATO or some kind of UN army to remove any dictator in the world, and give every single dictator, like in Sudan or Yemen or anywhere on the planet, this is not legal. We will sanction you or take you out until we have rid the world of dictatorship and broken human rights and stuff like that. So that is what we should do. Now, I follow the polls, and I see that Trump is now basically, he leads in the popular vote, and he also leads in most swing states, and a couple of them are tied. So thinking about that, Hillary lost to Trump with being 6% over, and Biden won with a very small margin, being 9% over. Trump will probably win in a landslide. And the betting odds also show that I think Trump is going to win. You know, the election night when he went against Hillary, his chance of winning in the beginning of the evening was 5%. And I regret so much that because I was so sure he was going to win, and I regret so much I was a chicken. I didn't put 100,000 kronor into that, and I could have won 1 million. But I was too chicken, and I didn't have that. I did have a little bit money at that time, and I could have done it. Now it's no use to put it in because you won't get so much back anyway. So actually, if I would bet now, it would be actually, I would think I would have put it into Kamala, because there are like 40% chance that she will win, and you can get much more back, but you have to be willing to lose, and I don't have money to lose right now, so I'm not gonna do it. Anyway, when it comes to Kamala, she is a covert narcissist with probably a lot of BPD. When I look at her and how she acts, she's probably a so-called covert narcissist. And that's the worst kind of narcissist, because they are so nice in your face. They are love bombing you, they are acting like they are real, they are just, and you get this feeling sometimes there is something wrong, there's something missing. And that's her. She's a covert narcissist, which basically is a made psychopath. And the only thing she thinks about is not America, it is not people, it's not helping people, it's only about her ego. When it comes to Trump, as I did say, he's probably he has overt narcissistic traits. He's that overt kind who but the difference is that you actually see it. There's nothing hidden in him. It's basically a little bit like me. I have some of these traits. It's very easy to figure out what I think because I keep saying it. But I'm not a full-blown narcissist. I have traits, and I will say Trump has overt narcissistic traits, but he has not gone over to becoming a made psychopath. That is my opinion. My opinion is that he is kind and he means well, but if people attacks him, he's like me, I just lose my sympathy and empathy for people who attack me for no reason. And I'm able to attack them back more intelligently, more ruthlessly, and it has worked for me too. So I kind of understand Trump a little bit. It is like when I get a nasty comment on YouTube, I just laugh it away. I'm not affected by it. You know, I don't let myself be affected by bad comments or what people think of me. And that is exactly the kind of person Trump is. Maybe he's a little bit more childish than that. He's not all the way stoic, so he might be a little bit affected, but he has no problem dumping it. It's like his vice president who called him this or that before, in the beginning, last time. And he doesn't care about it now because they are friends now. And also people who have been his enemies and attacked him, he just forgives them and basically gives them a job, because he doesn't take it with him. He doesn't take it personal over a long period of time. So, but Kamala, you cross her, she will never forgive you, because she gets this, what's called a narcissistic injury. So she turns into a demon. And she is also, you know, the covert narcissist is also stupid, because they think they are so smart. And you can, of course, say Trump thinks he's smart too. But he has actually made stuff. He has had a business, he became president, he has good kids, he has a good life. So what have Kamala actually created? Just think about it. Go into a past. What has she done? Basically nothing. You heard a lot of people. 95% of the people who worked with her in the White House left because she was so horrible to work with. Just think how it will be to have her as a president. Now, somebody also left Trump, and after they left, he attacked them after they attacked him. And notice that every time Trump attacks someone, it is they that attack him first. So, yeah. Anyway, that was overt and covert narcissism. I think that is very important, because for a covert narcissist, it will be much harder to make the right decisions, because many of them are made by pure emotion, hubris and pride and virtue signaling and stuff like that. So you should never have covert narcissists as presidents. When it comes to China, I don't know if I mentioned it, we have to do like Trump say. In Europe, in the West, we have to take the jobs back to Europe. We have to take the jobs back to Norway. It's also a good thing for the environment. If we produce everything we can locally, we won't have the problem with so much CO2 and pollution. We also have to do a lot of things with the plastic around everything. We have to do a lot about what we buy and what we use money on. I mean, all the shit we don't need that we buy in stores, like in a store in Norway called Nilla. It's just nips and bullshit, you know, things that is thrown right into the dustbin after Christmas Day. You know, people buy plastic shit. They just, it's so much bullshit who is produced. And also food, you know, Norway do not need to buy potatoes from Israel or Africa or Turkey. We have potatoes in Norway. We have carrots in Norway. We have cabbage. We have vegetables. We have what we need in Norway. And we should make it in Norway. We have meat in Norway. We have butter. We have cheese. We have sheep. We have pig. We have eggs. We have everything we need in Norway. But because of this globalism, we are moving meat from Africa. We are buying eggs from other countries. We are buying shit we don't need. And then we support our farmers, which can't actually live from this, through oil revenue. And that is polluting even more. So if you want to do something with the environment, do what Trump say. Everything we produce should, if we can, be produced locally. Take the jobs back. Now, Trump also talked about one thing that I think is very important. That is the fentanyl epidemic, or drugs. I actually agree with him. If you smuggle fentanyl or heroin or heavy drugs that kills people, you should get the death penalty. I think the death penalty would actually be appropriate. And it should be, good, but as short process as possible, and they shouldn't sit 20 years on death row. They should basically, and I know that Trump will do this. He did it last time. He told China to stop sending fentanyl into to America. He shut down the border and he stopped most of the illegal immigration. And you know, the thing which is so strange with the left is that they talk a lot about, they call us racist when we say we are against this kind of immigration politics, because they are virtue signaling. If you look at the numbers, you can also say that about the war in Ukraine, which is a good example. Millions of, not millions, but hundreds of thousands, maybe 2 or 3 million actually, millions actually, left Ukraine for Europe and the United States. So we drained out a lot of people from Ukraine, which is needed in Ukraine. Then we use resources in Norway and other countries to finance putting them in houses in Europe. And that takes away money that could be used in Ukraine to help Ukraine with the war. And they also need their people in Ukraine. And the same thing happens in South America. When you have immigration from all of South America into the United States, millions of people, you are draining people who is needed in these countries to rebuild. So instead of taking people in, send them back, but help them where they are. And you help them in 2 ways. You help them building infrastructure, jobs, and removing dictatorship, like the dictator Chavez and these people, kind of strangling the dictatorship in Cuba and try to promote democracy and human rights and stuff like that. So that is the way we should go about it. Sadly, because of international politics, it's really hard to get there. And it is sad because, as Carl Sagan said, we are a way for the universe to know itself. Every human being is basically the brain of the universe. If I didn't have a brain, my body would be like the universe. It would be there, but it wouldn't know itself. So through us, we are actually more amazing that people in general understand. We are the consciousness of the universe, and we are not taking care of people on the planet. I'm a globalist. I'm not an isolationist. I'm actually a globalist. I'm for a global social security if people need it. I'm for a global citizenship. But you have to get the whole globe to the same level of economic stability, so we earn the same thing wherever you live on the planet. And then it doesn't really matter where you live, because you have the resources anyway. And you can go live in Norway, and I can go to live in the equator somewhere if you wanna do that. But it doesn't matter, because we have the same economy and the same goals, and we don't have fascism anymore. We have made people understand the value of human life, and even better, maybe we even come to a point somewhere in the future where we collectively create some kind of upbringing that leads to the start of deep introspection, all the way from children are basically starting to think. We are learning them critical thinking, learning them to become conscious. Because being human gives you a potential for consciousness, but it is not automatic. You have to get some depth to understand it. And the start of the depth is to put objective truth over your own emotions. And with a society which is actually promoting individuality without substance, almost like collective covert narcissism or overt narcissism, it becomes more and more consumption and more self-destruction, and you see that in the obesity epidemic and the food we eat. Just think about it. 1/3 of all the food produced in the world gets thrown away. And it's usually wrapped in plastic. They are using rapeseed oils and bad plant oils and have taken out tallow and animal fat because of this crazy failed hypothesis about cholesterol. It's dangerous. Humans are made for consumption of meat and fat, animal fat. That is why we have a big brain. That is why we don't have fangs and teeth, big teeth, because we cooked the food and we ate basically animal food to build this brain. That is why we have a big brain, because we are basically, it's built over time with animal fat and meat and animal products. Probably a lot of fish actually. So, well, that was a digression. But anyway, and now of course, what is strange to me about the last part of you see that in the media now, in America, the left-wing media is going for this Hitler, fascist, Hitler stuff. And they are just preaching to the choir. There is nobody listening anymore. I see it also on social media, all this all this misinformation, all these short talk, oh, Trump is this, and Trump was never successful, and Trump almost was bankrupt, and Trump blah 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 blah. Well, yeah, he survived almost bankruptcy, and then he rebuilt and became the president of the United States for the second time tomorrow. Okay, so despite me being a little bit afraid of what he's going to do with Ukraine, because I don't think we should give away 1 inch or centimeter or millimeter of Ukrainian soil for peace. We should tell Putin to pull back to his own borders, the 91 borders, or we, NATO, and the West will become the protectors of Ukraine and use our weapons and our might to push Russia out of Ukraine. And I am pretty sure that Putin is not suicidal. So all this hyperbole about starting a nuclear war and using nuclear weapons against the West is just bullshit. It will never happen, because he's not suicidal. He's not a regime in Iran who would actually sacrifice their whole population, their whole country, to annihilate Israel. And they would actually do it, because they are going to heaven anyway. They don't care. But Putin, he wants to live. He wants his family to live. He don't care about Russia. He doesn't care about the people of Russia. You see that in the way he is spending his soldiers on the battlefield in meat waves, like Stalin during the Second World War. And that is also a point. You know, the Russians didn't win Second World War. I'm sorry, you didn't. You went you made a deal with the devil, with Adolf Hitler, and you even shot 28,000 Polish officers in the head in that forest. I don't remember the name of it now. And you made a deal with Hitler to partition Europe in two. And if it wasn't for the United States and England and the convoys to Russia and all the dead sailors that went down with the boats there trying to save Russia after they was in cahoots with Hitler, Russia wouldn't exist today. It wasn't for the West. So no, Russia didn't win. They were a part of the problem. Hitler couldn't possibly have done what he did if he didn't go into that deal with Stalin. And that is the truth. So now Stalin is back. and he is attacking Europe again. And Germany is one of the people, or one of the countries, or the government of Germany is one of the countries who's enabling Russia doing it, because they are refusing to give Ukraine what they need and the permissions that they need. And also, I want to say this to you Americans. Biden didn't do Ukraine any favors. He has held back permissions to use the weapons inside of Russia, and has prolonged this war with at least 1.5 years. And all the time it took to give them some tanks and some airplanes. You have, by the weak Biden administration and the weak politicians of Europe has prolonged this war and cost hundreds of thousands of people. And it could be, like Trump says, solved in one day, one single day. You take a phone call to China and say, if you keep supporting Russia, we will not buy anything from you anymore. We take out all production. We take the same call to India and tell them the same thing. Then we take a phone call to Iran and say, you know what, if you send more Shahid drones to Russia, we're going to bomb the hell out of you. And luckily now Israel is bombing them to sunder. And they should keep on doing that until there is no weapons production in Iran. And my Iranian taekwondo trainer says the same thing. The Iranian regime needs to get slammed, okay? And then you should take another call to Kim Il-jung and tell him, if you keep supporting Russia, we will start letting the bombs fall on you, because your nuclear weapons aren't worth shit. So if you want to survive, little rocket man, you just stop. And you know what would happen? Putin will be pulled back to his own borders, and the war would be over overnight. And that is what I hope Trump do. If not, if he does like he did in Afghanistan, which also disappointed me greatly, by starting the pullout from Afghanistan. After 20 years, we're trying to build a civilization down there and letting the Taliban come back. As one said, what did the United States do? Used $3 trillion on removing the Taliban and then bringing them back again, and leaving them with all these resources, all the American top equipment down there, because Biden said it was cheaper to leave it than to bring it home, and giving this to these thugs. That's insanity. So the Biden administration failed on every level. And I'm going to say this for the end of this video. If Trump don't support Ukraine and let Putin win, I'm not his friend anymore. And I'm going to make a new video saying it. So hopefully Trump wins, and hopefully he stops the war, which is very easy. And it's almost like I feel that Putin wants him to take that phone call so he can actually blame Trump. And Trump could just tell him this: if you now pull back to your own borders, you can blame me. You can blame NATO. But then you can keep your face and keep your power within Russia. Okay? And Putin will soon be dead anyway, of natural causes or killed by his own people. So who cares? Things change. Kim Il-jung will die of a heart attack. The Chinese economy will probably break down if we take production back to Europe or the West. And things will solve themselves. So then, after this, we can come together as one species, as one people, or one country called the Earth, and do like Elon Musk wants to, go into space and spread out, so consciousness in the Milky Way doesn't die out because of some freak accident, a big stone or something bashing into the planet and annihilates the only island of true consciousness that we know about in the universe. So I hope this clears that out, why I'm a Trump supporter. I'm a humanist, I'm an atheist, I love consciousness, I love humanity, and every human being on the planet is equally important. And if you can agree about that, we come a far way. So with this, have a good one. Cheers with my coffee, which I almost didn't drink because I was talking so much. Anyway, have a good one.